Hi there, Steve from Steve and Outdoors, and today is something a little bit different. Story time. So I've told this story to other people in the past and they all seem to get a kick out of it, so I figured I'd share it with you guys today, and hopefully you'll enjoy it as much as other people have, or at least pretended to. So if you spend any amount of time in the wilderness, the bush, whatever you want to call it, you might have seen some strange things. You can go online and type strange wilderness stories and you'll likely find entire forums devoted to it. Well, this is mine. So about 6 or 7 years ago, this would have been during the month of May, I was really jonesing to go fishing. And back then, bass, smallmouth bass and largemouth bass weren't open yet. For pretty much all of the province, it opened back then the third weekend of June. So clearly I was still at least a month out from being able to fish. A friend of mine took some pity on me, John, and he suggested, why don't you try a place called Chutes Falls, which is about an hour and a half or so, maybe 2 hours north of Espanola. So a grand total of about 3 or 4 hours away drive time from me. Having nothing else better to do, that Saturday I packed up the Jeep with my fishing rods and reels and tackle, and I made the trek. Drove the hour, 2 hours, whatever it is, to Espanola, turned right and went up a road which started out asphalt, gradually turned to gravel, then it turned into a fine powdery dust, then it turned into a legit trail. And finally I hit upon a fork in the road, and one way was kind of heading in the same direction that I had been traveling, another one was off to the left. So I decided to take the path north. Now, what's important to remember is at this intersection on the right side, there was a bit of a clearing, not quite half a football field in size, and there was a ring of vehicles around. Now, I paid no attention to that because I figured it's just some people camping or whatever it may be. So dutifully, I continued driving north, and what I was told was that on the right side of the road there'd be a little bit of a kind of a fork that you go down and you hit Chutes Falls. Drove. Didn't see this little turnoff. So at a certain point I stopped and I said, look, you're clearly not finding this place. You're not even seeing it, and this is a major falls where there's plenty of water and you should be able to hear it, and you haven't heard anything. Maybe you got to rethink this. So I did a U-turn and I thought, you know what, that clearing where all those vehicles were, I'm going to go there. So I trekked my way back an unknown period of time, pulled the Jeep into the beginning of where the clearing was, and I noticed immediately there was a semicircle of trailers and pickup trucks, all kind of facing inwards. I got out of the truck, and there was a little girl on what may have been a pogo or skipping rope. I don't remember exactly what it was. And she looked at me, and I looked at her, and I kind of smiled, and I walked towards the encampment, which is the best way that I can call it. She dropped her skipping rope, and she immediately bolted towards the nearest trailer. And I heard the words, "Mama, Mama, there's a man here." Now, I'm not exaggerating that accent. That was legitimately what the accent was like. Now, what made it odd was, I'm not in Alabama or Arkansas or Louisiana or wherever the hell else you're going to hear a southern accent. I'm in Northern Ontario. There is no southerners up in Northern Ontario. It was dead silent. No sound, no voices, no nothing. But I knew I was being watched. I just kind of scanned my eyes around all the vehicles. I saw no movement, no nothing. All of a sudden I heard a bit of a curtain kind of rustling on the trailer closest to me where the little girl had run into. But I didn't see anybody. I just kind of stood there. I said again. Excuse me, I'm just looking for some directions to Chutes Falls. Dead silent. No movement. No voices. No noise. Now, I'm a large man, and I'm not exactly afraid of a hell of a lot. I know I'm going to get my ass kicked or something's going to happen. I'm not afraid of it. I just know it's going to happen. But in this situation, I didn't have any idea what was going to happen. So I took a couple of steps backwards and I said, well, thank you for your help. Have a great day, everyone. Walked backwards towards the truck, got in the truck. I was off. That was odd. So I said, all right, to hell with it. I'm going to find this place on my own. So continued driving north again as I had. Drove maybe 5-6 kilometers, maybe more. I have no idea at this point. Gradually the gravel road or the dirt road is turning into a dirt trail, which gave way to a cut above a walking path, but still enough that my Jeep could drive on. Suddenly all the trees were gone. I drove out into what was a fairly substantial clearing with a lot of cut trees. It was basically a field of stumps, and the road had basically ended and it was now just a walking path. And ahead of me, I saw 5 or 6 guys all sitting in lawn chairs, smoking cigarettes and drinking something. And every single one of them had a rifle next to them. Now at this point I'm committed. I'm only about 10 or 15 feet away from them, and I get out of my truck and I throw caution to the wind and I say, hey guys, how are you? I'm looking for Chutes Falls. I seem to have passed it. Can you tell me where it is that I need to go? The guys all kind of looked at me and I thought, boy, I've really pushed my luck this time. And one guy looks, he goes, yeah, just go back that way, go back about 2 or 3 kilometers and you'll see it on your left. I was like, well, thank you very much. I walked back towards my Jeep, and then it occurred to me, there's nothing open in May that you can shoot with a large caliber rifle in Northern Ontario. Nor were they there for target shooting because there were no targets posted anywhere. They were just 4 or 5 or 6 heavily armed men sitting on lawn chairs in the middle of the open in a stumpy field, smoking cigarettes, drinking something, having a conversation. So I pulled the Jeep, reversed the Jeep out because there was no way I could turn around at this point because the trail, like I said, was pretty narrow. I managed to finally get back down onto the road. Sure enough, 2 or 3 kilometers later, I saw the little turn off, such as it was, down to Chutes Falls. Got there, found some other people who had already been there. They were camping. I set up about 100 yards away from them so I didn't interfere with them. Started fishing. Of course, I caught nothing the entire day. What were those people doing in that encampment? I have no freaking idea. What were those heavily armed men doing? No freaking idea. Were they connected in any way? No freaking idea. All I know is, in the space of about 40 minutes or so, I bumped into one weird situation and then another weird situation. And that's my fishing story, my weird fishing story. Not outlandish, no UFOs, no Sasquatches or anything, but one of those unexplained little events that I didn't really have too much interest in probing at the time. Hey, do you have a weird story? You must. If you spend enough time out in the wilderness, you've probably got some kind of kooky story of your own, of things that you've seen out in the woods. Feel free to leave them in the comments below. Tell us some of the weird things that you've seen in the woods. As always, thanks for watching my Facebook and Twitter pages. You can find links to them in the description below. Feel free to check them out. And if you like this video, feel free to share, subscribe, like, do whatever it is that everyone on YouTube tells you to do. And I'll catch you later. Have a great one. Tight lines, happy fishing, and I hope you don't find any armed men or crazy encampments.